themselves.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm not really that into that.
It's kind of like pumpkin spicy, but...
It's very pumpkin spicy.
Kevin, you'd be all over this. This is like your cold brew.
Hey, just because I get fucking
Basic
pumpkin
bitch jam.
foam on top of my coffee doesn't mean...
You can get foam, but you get pumpkin spice foam.
No, it's pumpkin foam. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's actually pumpkin sauce, according to Starbucks.
Well, no.
Nuh-uh.
Your drink is like a pumpkin, there's actually pumpkin sauce. It's a separate than the pumpkin spice.
It's not pumpkin spice. It's just pumpkin cold foam.
Because I was scared to get you pumpkin sauce because that sounded
pumpkin
weird.
Cold foam.
You keep messing with settings, you make things worse.
He's turning his own headphones down. That's it.
Oh, it changed mine.
You turn the
you're
whole
loud.
thing
It
up.
changed
Everything needs to
mine.
come up.
You just need to keep it a
Turn
click
your-
off of full tilt, though.
It's
Then-
off.
What's off?
It's off
Well-
of full tilt.
Okay, that's all I was doing.
I guess I'm hearing the same thing Shane is, but I don't know.
What?
Sounds okay in my
Things
headphones.
changed.
Shane, you sound lovely.
Thanks,
voice,
Will.
Voice of an angel.
Oh.
I hate the sound of my voice.
Anyways, by the way, Shane's here today.
Yeah.
We're here for just another episode. Don't know what number it is, but
We don't number anymore.
Yep. we don't even try.
Yeah, Dave's not doing
Um,
stuff for some. He's like,
Dave's in
Dave's
Utah.
in Utah,
yeah,
doing that
Yeah.
little vacation.
Yep.
And
Well
yeah.
deserved.
So we invited Shane back again. The infamous. Ooh, I
Oh.
like that noise.
Yeah, after one episode, I got a LinkedIn request saying, "Hey, were you on that podcast?"
That's
And-
unbelievable to
what?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
none of
we've
us
had
have
zero
nothing.
recognition.
Yeah.
From
So
who?
Oh, I didn't tell you. I told Mike and Will. I got like a LinkedIn request from some dude. Never. I don't know him. I don't know anybody on there. He was like, "Hey, were you on that CAD the Cars podcast?" And I'm like,
Actually,
one episode in.
famous.
have you been here
Dang.
twice?
Famous.
You've been here twice.
Yeah,
Well, but at the
by the
time-
time it
Oh.
only one had aired,
Ah.
I think.
Okay. This is your third time. Wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
you guys are running. You have no one else,
We don't even
I
like
met-
you, and you're here.
right? Flattered.
You guys are very loud in my ears.
Okay, turn your ears down.
Yeah.
I did. We're good. So, anyways, Shane, you obviously joined us on the Tail of the Dragon trip. Maybe before we jump into ramblings, we should give you your opportunity to.
That's
kinda-
his rambling.
Is it though?
Yeah.
No, he needs more than that.
Does he?
Yeah.
Has he done anything else?
I don't have a
I
lot
don't
of
know,
ramble.
but he's got like what, a solid 3 weeks of ramblings material. Otherwise,
I don't know. I haven't
So,
done much.
It's an excuse. I don't want to hear it. All right, fine.
Pretty
fine.
boring,
Is that
yeah,
all you- if
yeah,
that's all you
come
got,
around
then
back
we'll
to me.
Yeah. I mean, you have to start anyway, so
Yeah, you're in Dave's seat, so
get after it.
Hi, I'm Dave. My fuel pump in the Corrado died again.
DJ Will. right now.
What have I done? Oh yeah, I mentioned I got the new spark plug for the 3-wheeler, so I rode that around earlier this week. It seems pretty good. I think just needs another little tweak of the timing because it doesn't like to get up on the throttle very good. You have to kind of like roll into it, and then once you roll into it, it's fine.
That
So-
sounds carby.
I
Yeah.
cleaned it like twice.
Yeah,
so-
but I think it sounds like the pilot adjustment. That's your transition from low speed to high speed, jet-wise.
Yeah,
so
I rode around with the screwdriver in my hand, almost stabbing myself in the leg while trying to play with it and everything. So I think I got it, but I do need to try it again. Play with the. I think I need to get the idle way down
Yes.
and then mess with it and
Yep.
then try it again. So, yeah, that's pretty much the only development that I have.
It's only been 4 days.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
playing a little
No
catch
weekends
up
in
here.
between.
Yeah.
no. Yeah, not a whole lot going on this week for me. Yep, that's it.
Okay, my turn.
Sure.
Just been tearing apart the S4.
Yep.
Got the motor out, trans split, timing cover off because some guy said he wanted it, and then I lost the message. So now I'm just sitting with the motor with the timing cover off and
I was wondering. I
oil
saw
all
you,
over everything.
I saw you posted on Instagram, and I was like, "Why is he taking the engine apart?" like,
Right. I thought you had like 2 other motors apart too. It was just
I have
missing
2 other
covers.
motors. They have covers on them. I just like figured I'd take that one off. I don't know. I didn't want to make. I already had it on the engine hoist, and like I could lift it up and take the cover off and have the oil drip into a pan instead of onto the floor and not have to move it across the entire garage. So just wanted to kind of take stuff apart just because I wanted to know how to do it. No broken guides like they usually have, surprisingly. Everything's pretty brown in that engine, but like there's no scoring on the cams at all. You can't even grab anything with your fingernail. It feels pretty good. So I might pull a head off and see if their cylinder walls are actually scored or not.
why?
Why?
I'm curious.
Then it'd
Just a
be...
little bi-curious. What, that's...
If I put it back together, then it's worth something.
Yeah, then you have to buy gaskets.
Yeah, right. And timing stuff.
I mean, I could just, hey, I thought this was blown up. Took it apart. Turns out it's good. You can put it back together. $500.
No, $500 and it's together. Maybe.
No, that's not. No, these motors together,
Yeah,
without
if you know
damage
that
to
they're-
them,
yeah, I
go
know.
for like $2,000.
But you don't know.
If I take it apart, I do know.
How do you gotta put it back together? I don't see you
Then,
selling it.
when you're
apart.
buying it, you can visibly see that, like, there's no cylinder scoring.
Yeah, but the people buying a motor, like, complete, would have, like, if they knew, they would have just fixed it around.
I don't know.
Well, cylinder wall scoring.
Yeah, that's hard to fix.
They're
That's
getting to
admittedly.
that age where it's getting picked up by some,
People that know what they're doing.
right,
Yeah,
people buying the shitty things for cheap.
Yep.
So,
I sympathize.
I don't know. Got some guy picking up basically the entire car's worth of stuff in dollars on Sunday. Supposed to meet in Pittsburgh. So, bye-bye bumper, trunk, side skirts.
You gotta
both
drive out to
bumpers.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
One Sunday?
Yep. But-
That's where actually, speaking of which, the engine Marcus is trying to buy for the A7 is in Pittsburgh as well.
Oh, did he follow up with that link I sent you?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, he made him an offer. And
Nice.
they struck up a little deal.
Oh,
He wanted like $2,000 for it, right?
Yeah, he got him
That's
down to
pretty good.
18. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's known operating engine, then
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it was funny. He
Decent.
started asking me. He's like, "Wow, I could get that transmission too." And I'm like, "No, you don't know."
yeah. I need to find a buyer for the whole 6-speed swap, so that'll be
That'll
a
be
nice chunk of change.
Yeah,
But
the whole package.
everything with it,
That's always
spacer,
nice.
trans,
Yeah.
pedal cluster, drive shaft, axles, everything you need pretty much except wire. Oh, I have the wiring harness too, so you could swap that. Audi's harnesses are really nice. They just kind of like have plugs up under the ECU, so the engine harness just pops out from the rest of the car.
That is nice.
Super nice.
Most German things like that.
Not E36s.
I mean, there's no trans
You open up
harness.
that box underneath the fuses, and it's just a
Well, you have
mess.
one twist plug and your engine harness is out. Like,
One twist plug.
two. You have two big twist plugs over
Oh,
near
yeah,
your fuse
okay.
box, and then
Yeah,
that is your
that's
engine
true.
harness, and that's everything.
They do break it down a little bit more, but Audi's is like interior and like exterior, and that's where it breaks. It's not just like run the power wires out and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I guess probably because the battery's in front of the
Right, so you
firewall,
don't. That's
Audi.
the thing. Like, the only thing you have to split separate on BMW stuff is starter and power wires because they're huge.
Yeah.
There's not too many zero gauge plugs you find kicking around.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. Been posting up here and there, and people blow you up for like a day, and then they disappear. You send them pictures and everything, and they're like, don't respond. I'm like, just tell me if you don't want it. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
you go through the effort,
All
and
too well.
they don't
Yeah.
return.
All
So
too well.
whatever. All right, Shane.
Hate selling things.
3-week update. Let's go.
No new updates. I haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
I know I got to rebuild the motor in E36.
You've done nothing.
Well, not
You've
car
done
related now.
stuff.
He ate some vegetables.
I had some vegetables, biked a little bit, didn't touch my car. Just kind of prepped it for the tail of the dragon, nut and bolted, kind of saving all the big work for the winter. So motor rebuild, turbo, hopefully.
And how was your experience?
It was great. Car made it down. Drove around.
Were you
Wow.
Came back. Yeah.
Wow.
I was nervous. Yeah. No, that car is uncomfortable as a road trip car.
Yeah.
No radio for 9 hours. Kind of racing seats. So
By
Kinda.
yourself?
by myself. Well,
Well,
it was fun on the way down. So I was like trying to chase you guys,
right.
trying to catch you. So that was fun. And then once I caught you guys, I was like really bored.
Yeah, Shane left, maybe an hour after us almost? Not quite, but like 45
A little bit,
50
yeah.
minutes maybe.
Trying to catch up to you, play catch up, getting
Yeah.
text directions. We're going this way. We're going this way. Why are we going this way?
No tolls,
No tolls.
many axles. Much
Yeah.
toll.
The drive back was actually not bad. I just put the windows down and just hoofed it home and
Hoofed it.
hoofed it.
Huffed it.
Yeah, the drive
Nice.
back is way worse. Nothing to look forward to.
I don't know.
I found it worse.
It's worse
It's worse.
because you know where you're going.
Usually
you need
that's
to get
not the
home.
case. This time it was worse, but
You think you keep like recognizing landmarks and you're like, "Oh, I'm definitely close." Still 4 hours away. Like,
Yeah.
It's a long one.
yeah.
That's pretty long. I guess, I don't know. You Mike, you drove cross country recently, so 9 hours probably seemed like nothing. but,
Yeah,
like
it's kinda
that's
nothing.
pretty much the longest I've ever driven anywhere. 9 hours.
It's weird, like the road trip cross country thing. Like the first day feels like a long 10-hour road trip, and then second day, and you're like, oh, I'm not even like halfway yet.
Mhm.
So like you get into a different mindset of like, all right, I'm just gonna cruise for a while because I have
Oh, yeah.
multiple days of this.
That's the other thing. Once you get over the fact that it's like not a race, like,
Right.
and you're not just trying to
You're not
get
trying
there
to
as
make it
fast
there
as
by
you
dark or
possibly
something.
can.
Yeah.
It's always a race. Got to be the GPS.
Well, I do
Well,
that as
yeah.
like a game with myself, like seeing how much time I can like shave off and how many, like I'm start calculating average mile per hour and everything.
But it's also a game to get the best fuel mileage.
Those are two different games in my opinion. I've
Yeah.
played both.
I've played
Never
both.
together.
I no longer play the fuel economy game, especially whilst towing,
it's
because
hard.
it's only disappointing.
And yeah, usually disappointing. But
Yeah.
it's difficult to do. You have to be kind of like on your game, anticipating all the hills and yeah, sucks.
E36 did surprisingly well fuel mileage wise. Made the first stop after 4
25,
hours.
26, right?
I got like 28 in the first half,
Heck yeah.
That's what I got.
and then
Yeah, you don't have all that drag on the like at least
when I was
two
going
of your
like
cylinders,
85, yeah, and there's all that oil in there, just lubing everything up.
Yeah.
So I got like 28 mpg first half, and then the second half went to hell because it's all
Yeah.
West Virginia hills.
Mhm.
Just yeah,
How was your oil mileage?
I didn't check the oil yet.
What? You monster.
You didn't even check it when you got down there?
I mean, no,
You just
I
made
didn't
like a
want to look.
9-hour
I didn't want
drive
to look.
and ripped it on
9-hour
tail to
drive,
drag?
ripped
Oh
it on
my
the
God.
tail, ripped it back. I had not checked the oil.
I didn't. I'll
I'll check it tonight.
I'll admit I didn't
Wow.
ever witness you check it, but I thought surely you were checking it like
Okay.
every time
Right,
you got
yeah.
gas.
I attempted to check it once at our house,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, it was a hill.
it was on a hill, and I'm like, well, this is stupid, but I'm going to
Yeah.
look anyway. Oh, there's oil in it. Okay, fine. I'll send it.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I was a quarter over when I left, so
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of smoke to go through a quart.
yeah, everybody was.
That's a lot.
The first day, Friday, when we went to the tail, and I was following Kevin, and our former coworker Felipe was behind us. We stopped, and he went off, and I left, and I looked behind me. All I saw was a blue cloud of fog. I'm like, is it foggy? I'm like, oh, that's my car. Wow, that was a lot. And yeah, I don't see it, but everyone following me, they smell it.
I smell it more than I see it,
Yeah.
actually. But
Oh, actually, you were both burnt. Oh no, it was rubber. You're both rubbing, so I could smell it every time I was behind you.
Yeah, I was burning oil, and then every corner I took, I just smelled burning rubber.
yeah.
Front tires are shiny because they've been rubbing the fenders. Sending it though, I didn't care.
Wow.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what I said. I know there's an issue, and I'll fix it in the winter.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it now except try and blow it up. So
That's the nice thing about that, assuming it's just worn cylinders and you're not really going to hurt anything by running it, So
No, as long as
that's-
you
that's
keep
nice
oil
that
in
you
it.
can- yeah, that's nice that you can kind of
Could just
wait
quit and
until it's
buy,
convenient.
buy that Euro spec S50 from Thomas for $13,000.
ooh,
Why? For like
Never.
15 horsepower or whatever it is?
No, that's quite a bit different.
Are they?
yeah,
Is
it's
that
like
nice? 280?
Pre S54, yeah, it's like
280,
something like that.
yeah,
That's not,
Well, that's only a 3-liter though, right?
yeah. So that's like 20 more horse than you're making now, right?
yeah, but not for 13.
Right.
How
yeah,
much
no,
you
right.
want? Yeah,
13,000.
I'll buy another E36 that's way nicer, or
Right.
something.
But it's from
else.
Japan. You can't get parts
ITBs
for
and
it.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I know they got some cool stuff on there, but
That's about it. What else?
It's a much better. It's basically a predecessor to the S54. So like it makes power better. It does everything better except we never got it, so it's $1 million. It's not worth the price. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, but
No.
especially when you can get an S54 for $4,000.
Right.
So
Yeah, ITB is like, yeah, it is early S54, but not worth that money.
no.
If I felt landed on one and it's like, hey, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, maybe. But at this point,
Just buy it and sell it.
Yeah. it's still cheaper to rebuild the motor and throw a eBay turbo on it.
yeah,
so.
there you go. Yeah, because you can't do that with that fancy pants motor.
No,
Yes,
you
you
won't want
can,
to do
'cause
that. You could. I'd feel.
You throw away like
Hesitant about
probably
it.
the most unique part about that engine, the ITBs.
No, you
I
keep
saw
those.
something the other day. Someone came out with a billet M50, M52 block.
Oof.
Dang.
10 grand.
Yeah.
Ouch.
You can
But
get
that's
a
got to
bil-
be some power
I was
because
gonna
like
say,
the
you can
block's
get
not
a-
the problem for
a billet block
while.
on pretty much any platform. They're just usually so expensive.
And usually they don't have water jackets,
no,
so you can't street them.
yeah.
Yeah, like people are cracking blocks like M52 blocks. The 2.8s, those are like the big power block, And like around 1,000 horse, you start having issues around a couple head studs sometimes. It's very hit or miss. I don't know if it's like the torque sequence or what, but a couple people have had some cracks pop up.
They're just like random casting inclusions or something.
Something like that, yeah. But that's a lot from something that made 190.
Oh yeah, no joke. So
yeah,
is that all you got, Shane?
that's all I got. This
So I got-
car's still running.
All right.
There may be oil in the engine still. Find out later.
You're checking before you leave here. I want
Yeah,
know.
we're
we'll
checking
check,
before
we'll
you
check.
leave. That's unacceptable. I didn't know you did that all weekend. I would have checked.
Yeah, I would have checked. Yeah.
Maniac.
Yeah, fucking lunatic.
Guess you really left all the fucks behind.
Yeah, Jesus.
I mean, Mike had the trailer, so it was a little.
It was full of
Dude,
junk.
there was no.
Yeah,
We would have figured it out. Kevin's car was running good. It wasn't
I
gonna
was
have issues.
overly optimistic about how much space we could make, and I
No.
don't- yeah,
No, it doesn't work that way.
with your short bed, like
Quad would have been on the roof and the hood.
Yeah. We could put...
Lindsay
yeah, it
and
would've
Elise
been
would have
nightmare.
both been riding the
Quad.
Helixes.
Quad
Right.
on your hood also in the trailer.
Yeah.
Parked on top of your car, yeah.
Ugh, that would have been a nightmare.
And you have to ride the Helix.
Yeah, definitely.
2 people would have to ride Helix's back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we didn't come to that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all good.
Lunatic. What did I do? I haven't done much.
Got the trials bike running.
Oh, yeah. After our last podcast, my voltage regulator updated whatever came in that I ordered, and it took a little wiring mod because they no longer support the old bike. But a couple butt connectors later, thing runs again. And then I went to fix the fuel line that was leaking ever so slightly, touched it and shattered the fuel filter and then the line. So I have the new stuff. It just shut up last night. I haven't touched it yet.
When you said that, I immediately went out and bought more fuel line because I was like, you should just.
I bought a whole
just get some of
spool.
this. Yeah.
It's-
I only brought like 10 feet, but that's a lot. So.
Yeah, I got the 25-foot spool or 50-foot spool, whatever it is. But you go through it. It's just worth it to have on hand.
Yeah.
So what do you think the demise of that controller was? The little wiring.
Oh yeah, my
snafu,
my
or-
little snafu there with the. So, this is a gas from 1993, and they're made in Spain. And in that time period, things aren't super well documented.
The wiring diagram for this was
Right.
too funny. It literally said on there for one of the wires, possibly red.
Yeah.
It's Rojo, possibly.
Yeah.
Oh, you sorry.
Yeah,
it was in-
that's
yeah,
the
it was in
translation.
Spanish, of
but
course.
yeah. So, the diagrams aren't great. That doesn't. None of the wiring looks quite right. So you're just kind of winging it. And there was this like, I don't know. It's got to be like an AC regulator before that AC to DC converter like regulator thing. And there's 2 pins on it, and there were 2 pins near each other. So I'm like, oh, they must both go on it. And I think that like essentially bypassed it and it nuked itself.
Yeah.
So.
Also, the Spanish people were just like, yes, this seems like a good idea. Let's hook up this yellow wire to this blue wire. That's how it's going to be.
None of the
Instead
colors make sense. The pin, there's just like unplugged pins near the same thing but open. So
and don't need to be plugged into anything at all.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Turns out it's an output for a light, which I guess the lights must be AC on that because that's an AC
Oh.
frequency out of that stator, and that's pre-DC converter.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that should work again now. I gotta like adjust the chain and stuff, but that's in good shape. I picked up another very broken mini quad off of our
What?
coworker Derek
Oh.
last night.
Okay.
His parts quad, which
Yeah.
was basically complete. The rear end was blown up. He took the CDI box, so I have the Champ 100 motor sitting around. I want to make my variation of race quad.
Yeah.
I forgot
High
how
compression.
bent that frame was.
Oh.
So it's going to take some knuckle mods to get it back into a reasonable shape. Because remember, it turned funnier left and right.
Derek's old quad.
Yeah, he swapped the frame on it because
It's
of
been
it.
so long.
But I was looking at just the knuckle area, and it is someone felt the heck out of that. It's like bent all the gussets, bent everything.
Felt the heck out of it.
Oh boy, like someone really ate the bars. So that'll be the next little project. Otherwise, I'm just kind of picking at stuff. I ordered a bunch of tires for Grid Life in a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever.
Where'd you end up ordering from?
Tires Gator online, which I had never heard of before. But it
Gator
was
skin
like
tires, huh?
it was like $1.50 cheaper than somewhere else, and somehow that was worth it. So might as well.
Hey,
might as well order
it'll
from
be
somewhere.
worth it if you get a sticker from them.
I know.
Yeah.
I ordered mine yesterday, and they're gonna be here Saturday.
Yeah, I got tracking
So,
for it,
Okay.
but I didn't check it yet.
Yeah, I blew $600 on tires, and I probably need more. So
Yep.
it's gonna be an expensive weekend.
Yeah, I
Luckily
ordered
it's
6.
spread out, but fuck, it's a
Yep.
lot.
On the drift topic, I did get a little bit motivated again. I guess I did that this week as well, sort of.
Yeah, you cut stuff that didn't make a difference.
Yeah. I found out that adding ankle is not going to be easy. I cut the
to your
rack.
car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Well,
look
you
like
know,
it's gonna be easy.
there are like rack stops, like limiter stops on
Yeah,
the subframe.
but your tire's already on the control arm. Like, even with more
so I
spacer.
I
Yeah,
threw
you put
like
more
3 more
spacer.
degrees of camber in it and like a 15 mil spacer, and so
Oh.
that added. Yeah, I got Tilty Boy wheels,
Oh.
and it makes me happy. So, so there's room there now. So it's really just figuring out how to do more steerings, and it's gonna be some shenanigans for sure. So
Yeah, even with those stops cut, when I was looking at it, you're close to over Centertown, and that's scary. So
yeah, it's gonna need some stuff, but ordered an M50 or M60 manifold, so that'll be here Tuesday. I just got tracking on that, so I'm kind of excited.
yeah. So the late model M62, which has the Vanos,
Yeah,
like
to use.
yours, have the tiny manifold for some unknown reason. A little more torque, I
It's,
guess.
a little
but-
debatable.
Yeah.
Emissions or
Yeah,
maybe
whatever.
I've also the most plausible one that I've heard is that they just needed to differentiate even further between M cars.
That makes similar sense.
So
You're
I'm
getting
like,
too
I
close
could
on the
see-
power.
Yeah, I could see that.
How much is that gonna do?
So, well, it's not so much that as that combined with Mike needs to test a 4-inch MAF intake situation, and I want to tune. So I might as well. If it's going to... I actually did see some,
That's
Data-
pretty
Data D,
significant gains with that.
Dynagrass where it was gaining like 22 horsepower up top. So
Okay.
From
I'm
an
into that.
NAV8 with just an intake manifold and
Yeah.
a MAF,
Yeah.
that's not bad.
I'm just thinking dollars and time per horsepower value.
yeah, it's $150 for the manifold. So
Okay.
Honestly.
All right, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than I expected.
But yeah, the old M60s and then the early non-Vanos cars had different variations of bigger manifolds.
Mhm.
I didn't know it, but the 4.6 ISs, like X5s, had the bigger manifold on it,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is interesting.
Yeah, if I
But-
found one of those, I'd be swapping the whole bottom end too. 'Cause,
Yeah, put the whole thing in.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some stuff.
The 4.6 is fine. The 4.8 is the weird one.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So
But anyways, speaking of finding parts, I guess on your agenda
yeah, we got a junkyard run tomorrow morning. That's the next plan.
before Brapplebee's.
We have pre-Brapplebee's junkyarding in Cleveland. So
Well, you want to go?
Maybe.
well, let's go. There's a large case diff which I need.
Oh.
It may or may not be open, but it's worth
So what?
pursuing it. And I also need a harmonic balancer for the drift car because it's separating.
I was wrong about that. The X5's in Akron, right around the corner. But
Well, all right, that's
Easy
easy.
enough.
What do you mean? Oh, they're in two separate places then?
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah, there's an E32 750 up in
Hmm.
Cleveland, which would have hopefully the large
Yeah.
case diff.
Yeah, it's worth a look around for sure. Pick and pulls are always fun, regardless. So.
Yeah. I think the last 4 times I've gone, I've just been with Mike and walked out with absolutely nothing, just wandering around.
The Akron one never
Sometimes-
seems to have that much. Like
I should
Yeah.
actually look to see. I didn't look to see what their Volvo inventory was like. I need to pick up
Fans.
another one of the. I might grab a fan, but I more specifically need the relay because mine was kind of
Oh.
burning up and
Yeah.
doing weird stuff. So
Ooh, I need to do that.
I bent some things and preloaded the relay contacts a little bit harder, and it seems to be doing okay now. But I want to grab another one.
Yeah, yeah. You want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe junkyard adventure tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Brapplebee's this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna retire the 3-wheeler for a bit. Need some attention. There's some things going on with it. It's also very smoky these days, so I'm gonna give it a little rest. But
Nice. And we're still trying to find one for Shane.
yeah,
Like I said, I messaged that guy earlier this week. I said, hey, I'll come get it today. And he said he had somebody already on the way. So it's still listed, but I don't know.
Hit him up again.
yeah. Hit him up
Yeah,
again.
I should.
Be like, hey,
I'll do it right now.
Hey, did that sell?
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Pre-podcast or mid-podcast, scumbagging into buying stuff. That's what we need
You don't have a choice, Shane.
on a public forum.
I'm just waiting for the knock on my door and be like, That'll be $300. Here's your four-wheeler, sir.
Right.
We could do payment plans if need be.
Yeah,
But-
that's fine. It's just mine until you pay for it.
Right.
Because like I said, I was looking for the suspensionless one anyways. So
I mean, should
But
we
you
just
can't do that though, because if you have it here and you need me to pay you, it's no incentive for me to just pay you. Yeah, show up at my
so
house.
he keeps the motor out of it or something, or just like keeps a wheel,
CDI
and you
box.
get
I'll
one,
keep the CDI
one
box.
wheel per payment.
Is there a
Like-
certain is there a certain point where we should just buy a community quad?
communal quad. I mean, we kind of already have that. We have more things than we could ride already. So
Yeah, but
I think I've rode Mike's quad the most and also broken it the most.
everybody rides
That's true.
Mike's quad the most.
everyone
Not really
crashes
sure
my
why.
quad too. That's kind of why I want another one. Stop crashing my good one.
Don't take the blue one.
Yeah.
I like it though for some reason.
Stop saying, "Oh yeah, definitely go take
Well,
it."
it's
You
what made
are-
it happen.
You are very
know?
encouraging.
It's the OG. It's what started this whole wave.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you don't say no, and I'm like, I'm gonna take your quad.
well, I
Yeah,
don't
have fun.
expect you to be flat out into trees first time out.
I
but-
don't either, to be fair.
It is marked as sold. That one.
Bummer.
Try and take care of it. I just got a little overconfident and
Yeah,
tree.
It happens. You gotta find the
We
limit.
you fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah, we fixed it.
Lineman's still goodish.
Yeah.
Brabblebees is open till 3 tomorrow. So
Yep, 3 a.m.
a.m. I
Late
know,
night.
I know Sinson will be tired. So I mean, if you're like feeling a little antsy,
I got my nephew's birthday tomorrow too. Late.
Everyone's got birthday parties.
3 a.m. birthday parties. It's craziness.
do you and Matt have the same nephew?
I don't think so. That'd be weird. We'll find out tomorrow when I show up.
It's gonna,
Yeah.
it's gonna be an all-day thing because it doesn't really sound like your nephew's birthday is gonna be that long.
I know 3 a.m. That's
How
pretty
late do
wild.
they
That's
stick
a wild
around to
party.
nephew's
Yeah.
birthdays? Like,
I got family too coming. I haven't seen in a while because of COVID and everything. So
You got to talk about vegetables.
yeah.
no one in my family eats vegetables except me.
Whenever you're ready, stop on by.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't hold your breath.
Well, at least he's not setting false expectations.
Right, I
so
do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shane.
Yep.
Always wondering if he's coming. No, we know he's not coming.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess we ought to segue into our topic choice
Yes.
for today. Not super technical. We're gonna come up with another one of those, I think, for the following episode.
Yeah,
because
we
we've
planned
been,
poorly this week.
Yeah, we were slacking a little bit.
We
so
plan poorly every week.
yeah,
Honestly.
pretty much. Yeah,
That's fair.
That's like
That's
an hour
fair.
before. We're like, what are we gonna talk about? Well, I don't know. Sometimes we don't even decide at all. We just start talking. And
Yeah.
we do it on the fly. So, yeah. So, what's the official title? What are we calling it?
Kind of like diagnostic. I don't know.
I don't know.
Plan mentality, like how to
Methodology?
methodology.
Anti-parts cannon
Yes.
diagnostics.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, sometimes that is a diagnostic.
No,
that is a
it's
diagnostic
not-
approach. It's a shitty one,
Yeah.
but
I wouldn't even call that a diagnosis. That's
I
not,
mean-
that's not diagnosing anything. It's you not coming up with
Right.
anything.
Diagnosis
well,
or
yeah, and that's kind of
diagnosis?
just like diagnosing issues and just isolating variables. Kind of test methodology.
You can't
makes
say-
sense.
I observe a front end clunk. I'm going to replace everything.
I still observe front end clunk.
It's an
Shit.
observation. That's
Sometimes
not
it's
a
a-
diagnosis.
Exactly.
Well, I should just do the whole front end anyway.
Well, that's,
Well, that's a
that's
different-
acceptable though. Like
Yeah.
all my I just went over that with the truck. I'm like, all the
Yeah,
ball
it's not-
joint boots are ripped and it's old and they don't look like they've ever been replaced. So you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
yeah.
So,
While you're in there doing a job is not the same as trying to figure out what's wrong and throwing every part nearby at it, because that's bullshit.
unless you have them
So.
laying around.
Dude, even that, yeah, I don't know. That's what kind of what we were talking about earlier is putting on a new part does not mean it's a good part.
Fair.
We've had good parts out of the box before. It happens. So like properly diagnosing something avoids the issue of like, well, I tried this other part and it still does the same thing. It must not be that. Whereas it very well could be still. I mean, if you don't know that part's good or even brand new in the box, I've had duds. So proper diagnostic work ahead of time will save you from that. You
Yeah.
can be like, oh shit, this one's bad too.
Yeah, I can think of like an instance for each of us, like within the last like couple weeks, where it's kind of been the case.
Right.
I'm just thinking back to like the race quad, carbs and drilling out jets and everything. Meanwhile, just totally wrong CDI box.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. None of us caught it. And I was like,
But it
okay.
ran, so like,
But
it must not be
right?
the CDI box.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I did it recently with something too. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I don't know.
Certainly not a Mazda because none of those are running.
Nope.
Not much
Nope.
to diagnose
Nope.
there.
Yeah, no, you can't diagnose it if it doesn't run. Well,
He
Actually,
can.
That is a perfect reason to diagnose things. But
I've been
engines
doing
aren't
a
in
lot
it,
of
so, yeah.
strange diagnostic work with the old CIS Audi because I
Mhm.
don't want to spend any money, so I'm trying to do it.
Avoiding the parts cannon.
Yeah, I'm
with,
very much avoiding the parts
which
cannon.
is probably required at this point. It's an 80
Yes.
watt
That thing's been
something
broken
Audi
for like 2 years.
with super
No.
antiquated like
Last
fuel
summer I broke
injection.
yeah,
Like
yeah, dead like super junk fuel injection system from forever ago that's been unbelievably poorly maintained, and then feeding it rust the whole time. So, and you can't buy any new parts anymore,
Right.
and if you can, they're $1 million. So like, I'm throwing the used parts at it, which doesn't guarantee they're good.
No.
So,
Just carbureted already.
What? That's not.
No.
That won't help at all.
I do want to do a little motorcycle carburetors instead. Just make a new intake and just run them off that.
Oh boy.
That was the fix
That'd
for
be
my
better.
little
RX-7.
motorcycle carbs and do all 5.
Yeah, I know. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's more expensive than I'm into the CAS right now. That's why I went to the
They are
trying it.
expensive. Yeah.
Well, I need 2 banks too because
Right.
they come in banks of 4.
Yeah.
They're daisy chained together, which is sweet. So like
Mhm.
I could get 2 sets and make a set of 5,
Mm-hmm.
but then I have to buy 2 sets.
Yeah. There were a couple that were paired, and it sets of 2, but
Yeah, this still doesn't work.
still doesn't help you really. But I did think of what my poor diagnosis semi recently is the intermittent speedometer on the truck.
Yeah.
Then I was like throwing speed sensors and everything at it, and nothing seems to work. But and I should have picked up on the clue that like you hit a gnarly bump and it would like come and go. I was like, it must be electrical, you know. And so I was looking at just the wrong end of the truck. Eventually, I pulled the batteries out in the airbox. And the reason I probably didn't look sooner is because they had to disconnect the batteries and pull the airbox out. But the connector on the ABS module, which I don't even know why it has one because it doesn't have ABS, but there is a module that this goes through. The connector was just like broken off of it. So super easy. JB Weld done.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you just go for the easier solution because it's that much cheaper and easier.
Yeah.
Like this
Sometimes-
Vanos
I mean, that
issue
would
I was
make
having.
sense.
The fix was free. And
Yeah.
I did buy a speed sensor for it. So
Okay. So
granted,
I guess
only
I'm just
wasted
giving,
20,
like,
$20 or whatever, but still.
my 1 Series is an example. Like the Vanos solenoid was $75. Tearing apart the car and like taking the cams out was free technically, but if I was
man.
in there, like, it was going to get the cam tray revision, which ended up solving the problem. So I guess I got lucky that was the problem. But
It's funny because
Well,
I
otherwise,
think-
what are you going to do? Like, you have to test activation speed with like a scan tool, a nice scan tool. Or if you could tap into oil pressure at the Vanos for some reason, there's a port for it,
Mhm.
then you could see the drop off there. But
and even then, that doesn't mean anything. Because I was telling him, like on the M62 stuff, because I still have that problem with the Vanos solenoid. Which, if we go to that X5, I want to grab like the actuator and the solenoid off of that. But where like you can tee into the oil pressure sensor, but you can't check it like at the solenoid.
right, exactly. It's
So
not at the
even then-
solenoid, so that doesn't matter.
because there's a little filter screen, little pop-it thing going on right before it, which if they can plug up. So
Right.
yeah,
But a great example of this is, I hate to use Derek as an example because he's kind of went the
Oh,
unfortunate
I-
route this week.
when you
but-
picked the topic idea, and I
It's-
was couldn't
that's
have
why it
helped,
was
but It
fresh.
was slightly inspired by Derek.
So Derek had the motor out of his truck because it blew up on the dyno like 2 years ago. Had it back together. Recently's had like a slow crank situation thing, and the starter's a pain in the ass to get to. You could like pull the header and stuff, but you put a starter in it, still slow cranked. And it was like, hey, have you checked grounds? So we checked a couple grounds, found a couple crusty ones. Still did the same thing.
it improved.
It improved, yeah.
Still not
but it's still
right.
not right. So I didn't really know what to do. I was over there grabbing the 4-wheeler, so I had him take the jumper cable from the ground terminal of the battery to the cylinder head,
Mm-hmm.
and he saw sparks when it was cranking. So there's obviously a voltage drop there, and the amp just trying to jump across. So
Right.
checked the grounds a little bit more. There was one he missed, and that the nut was tight, but it wasn't tight on the terminal because of the way the stud was. So we made a little spacer, put that under there, and now it cranks like the dickens. So
Yeah. Dude,
it's one of those things like he went through an afternoon of changing a starter and a couple $100 for
electrical
a loose ground.
stuff in itself is like worthy of its own discussion. It's just so
It is.
wild. The specifically ground issues they
Especially
can
on
cause
new
such,
things.
such weird
Ooh.
issues.
can you
Although
imagine how bad they're going to be in 10 years?
Oh, they are. Yeah, I've
It's
already seen
already
how bad
bad,
they are.
yeah.
Like,
I've got a fun electrical one on the 836 that happened when we were down there. So my right turn signal works intermittently.
yes, I think your stock's messed up. but
That's
But
been,
then the new one is my fuel gauge will either go to eat randomly, it'll just stop working. What happened when we filled up the one morning, I filled it up, it was full. When I turned my headlights on, it went peg past full,
yeah.
almost down. And then I turned the headlights on, and then it just bounces all over the place. I'm like,
Whoa.
Did you smack the dash?
no, I have not.
Because
I always do that with gauges.
Yep. Specifically BMW gauges, like the way the circuit board is in there, you start getting some loose terminals. It's like
Yeah.
a big deal on E30s.
hit it with your purse.
You smack the top of the dash, and the temp gauge, it'll go from like overheating to back to center.
Yeah, if their pixels
So-
was any indication of their, PCB stuff, then
This is even prior to that, so
yeah. Well, yeah.
they've had a rough time with cluster stuff.
Before we even get into the electronic stuff, I was just thinking, Kevin, there it goes. It's gone. I just completely lost it.
Nice. Nicely done.
No, okay, no. What made me think of it was because with your issue on the 135, the internet is an incredibly good resource, but also
oh, you dig
Like,
yourself
can
in
be
a hole real quick.
unbelievably
oh
misleading.
my god, yeah, you start seeing like all these common problems, and they're like, oh, it must be this because it's a common problem. That,
I've
like,
honestly never even heard about this cam tray issue until I started Googling that
yeah,
specific code.
It can save
and I was
you
like,
in some places,
okay.
but in other times, like it just leads you just entirely down the wrong hole because you don't even bother trying to diagnose it. You're like, yeah, I have the same symptoms as this guy. It must be the same problem.
Which
which
it doesn't
absolutely-
guarantee it is.
No,
There's
not at all.
certainly instances that are common problems that
Mhm.
will go that way, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's useful in many, many ways because it helps you there. But other times it's just not right, and yeah, it's just a weird one-off kind of issue. So, electrical, man, tricky business.
Yeah,
Yep.
sometimes it comes down to having fancy tools too to
Well,
diagnose that kind of
also-
stuff.
On electrical stuff specifically, it seems to me like wiring diagrams are becoming more and more like proprietary, almost like they don't
Well,
really.
yeah, but like
It's a little harder to get a hold of them now.
well, remember back in the day, you'd look at diagrams, they'd be like a solid state box, and like, all right, well, there's the dead end because like it's going into a control module.
Yeah,
you
you
have
have
no idea what's doing what.
You have like smart stuff now, like
Right, that's
Ooh.
everything on a car
Yeah.
now.
You have one wire. Who knows
Mhm.
what goes through a CAN wire and what it talks to? Because now multiple modules talk through CAN.
Right,
So it's
and
like
one bad module can bring down an entire CAN bus
Mhm.
system. So like we used to deal
Kinda
with
like
that on Mercedes.
Mercedes, yeah.
Like you have to systematically go through and unplug modules until it comes back to life, because once a module dies, it can dead short the CAN bus system and bring down the entire vehicle.
Well, before they did CAN stuff, didn't they use fiber optics?
Yeah, some stuff. We had was a SL 600, like the V12,
Yeah.
that was at the shop, and they used fiber optics because this is like early 90s.
Mhm.
Back when V12s couldn't run off one computer, they ran off two or three. It ran off two, and then one bank was one computer, the other bank was the other, and they talked together between a fiber optic line, and the fiber optic line was like broken under the intake manifold.
Yep.
So it was a new harness. You can't like fix the fiber optic line
Right.
easily. So it was like a $4,000 harness for a
Well, the diagnostic tools for those, they
90s
did make
thing.
like little jumpers, I think.
Right.
That you could like bypass it and see, like you could cut a module out of the equation and see if things started working again.
Yep.
But it was literally just like a jumper.
yeah.
So that was weird stuff. But yeah, I don't know if it's because, electronics and everything in cars are just that much more advanced, or if it's just because things are still too new and like people just haven't gotten a hold of the diagrams yet. But I'll be curious to know if like, some of this stuff is as available as it is now for us, like something that's equivalent, to like 10 or 15 years old.
Right.
So
I've been looking through some like GM and like mostly for this Allison swap stuff, like 2015-ish diagrams, and there is actually still a fair amount of information on those, because like all that stuff's going through like body control modules, and that's what basically I have to throw into the truck to get to work right.
yeah.
But there is information, and people are figuring it out and like telling you what is CAN high and CAN low, and then what you need to hook up versus what you don't.
Oh boy, CAN stuff works so weird.
Yeah.
It's like super hard to like reverse engineer too. Like if you
Sort of. If you know what you're doing, like it's hard for us to do, but like I have a buddy who's very good with on the software side of things, and we played with some CAN bus stuff back in the day, and he figured it out way faster than I expected.
Well, the language that like manufacturers use is pretty much shared between every
Right.
make of that manufacturer, which is nice. It
Even
it
across,
doesn't have to share a platform or an engine or anything. Their like language that they use on CAN is pretty much always the same.
Even between different manufacturers is similar. Like
Right.
most German things are pretty similar. Like
Mhm.
they use a very similar architecture
Yeah.
for that.
I'm just saying like the code that they talk in. I know it's like
Yeah.
tricky to figure out, but
Yeah, if you're into that world, it's not for me.
It's a different world.
Yeah. If I can't see it move and like play with the gears to make it work, I have a
There's
hard time
very few
understanding
people
it.
that do both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I know a
Yeah.
couple, but it's very, very rare.
right, Shane?
Dude, I can't. Electrical stuff I don't get.
I like old electrical stuff. It's great. Like, you know,
I just
12 volts
try to
plus
learn.
minus.
I try to learn enough to like be able to do the things that I want to do, and that's about it. Like,
I want to try to stay current.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
well, not current,
oof.
but current with the things I'm purchasing.
Right,
So at least I'm
right.
adapting
Yeah.
15 years too
I think
late.
it kind of circles back to like maybe like one of the first couple episodes that we did talking about getting into cars and forums and things like that, where you can only do so much without having a problem in front of you in terms of learning that kind of thing. Even electrical stuff, like you really have to be figuring out either how to make something work or solve a problem to really start to understand it. You can't just like theoretically browse through pages of diagrams or forms and really comprehend anything. So,
Right.
well, I'm sure some people can. I can't.
Yeah, I think with the E36, that's like towards the newest like electrical. I would like try and investigate myself because the wiring's new, but still kind of older. Like my F30, if something electrical goes with it, I'm not touching it. I'm not gonna know where to look, or I'm not
it
even
should
gonna
tell
try
you too,
it.
to some extent. That's the nice thing about newer cars.
That's why I started investing in like more of the scan tools and the cables that talk to stuff, because you almost have to.
right. So,
Yeah, I guess even in terms of diagnostics, using scan tools, I mean, they're becoming much more accessible to the consumer, even like on a low end.
yeah,
you
they're
have-
not as good though. Like you can read codes and that's cool, but like trying to do activations and stuff still seems to be pretty hit and miss.
Right.
It seems like the newer the car, the easier it is. For
Yes.
that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's fair.
It does seem that way.
I think it was pretty proprietary on the older stuff.
Mhm.
So like you had to have the OE scan tool, and then you could activate and do whatever you want. But aftermarket stuff is too big of a leap between manufacturers. So
But at the same time, like how would you go about diagnosing a bad for instance the E39? I remember dealing with this specifically, figuring out why the auxiliary fan wasn't working, and it's a PWM signal, so like you can kind of like probe it and look for like I don't know, 3 volts or something like that, because it's not going to be a straight 5-volt signal.
Right.
And like, but I
You
mean,
need a
being able
scope
to
really or
being,
something,
yeah,
but-
scope would be ideal, but being able to go in there and just like activate fan, and then it just doesn't work, and you're like, okay, well,
right, it's got the like 20, 50, and 75% like speeds
right.
to activate it, which is
Mhm.
nice.
so definitely a very valuable resource if you can get your hands on one of them. For especially when you own the car or even multiple cars of the same make.
Yeah.
Buying. Because what are they like? You can get a pretty decent one now for like $120. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it depends on how far you want to get into it. And there's also a lot of like, weird free stuff that's difficult to understand.
I like the free stuff.
INPA.
Yeah. INPA's cool.
Yeah.
That's what I used to use back at German, but like on the OE like scan tool thing. But
Mhm.
now that seeing the bootleg versions, it's the same. Like there's some interesting things you could do. You could tell it's definitely made in like the 90s. It's a pretty relic software, but you can do some very interesting things.
good
Code all
stuff.
sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Out of curiosity, since I don't have any good electrical diagnostic
What does
issues
This
or
isn't electrical.
problems.
I mean,
Not-
it
not-
applies to
Um,
anything. Suspension.
I guess
plugs,
with
like-
you guys specifically, do you have an example of something that was wrong with any particular car that was difficult to figure out that you ultimately figured out? How did you figure out what the issue was, and what was your process for figuring out what that issue was?
Well, I don't know. When you're the best,
Look
it's,
at you moderating over here.
Ooh.
It's kind of hard. I don't really fail that often, but No, I'm sure. It's one of those things. You kind of when you fail at something like that, you really just kind of block it all out. You're like, no, I definitely.
So
did
you're saying it's like
diagnose that.
college? You got through the class and you're like, okay, moving on. I don't
Throw
remember what
that
I
out,
did,
throw
but
that out. Yeah.
hopefully I remember later.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty good at like diagnosing and isolating like suspension and like clunks and vibrations and various hardware issues like that. Like without even like really getting under the car, you can figure out how to load the vehicle on the street and kind of isolate where it is and get a
Yeah.
really good idea.
Hard acceleration, hard braking, left turns, right turns,
Right.
on throttle, off
Left
throttle,
turn
like,
over
yeah.
a bump, and then
Yeah.
you can feel like
Right.
feel
You're
a ball
like,
joint
that's a sway bar,
unload or
yeah.
something. Or a sway bar is kind of a fast rhythmic
Yeah.
noise.
Or
But
even the pitch or like harmonics when it's like certain RPMs, things like that. It's
Yeah. But I found some weird ones that way, where like a strut top nut has come slightly loose, and like it's not loose by looking at it, but you can feel it clunk from one side to the other, and then if you actually get onto it, you can tell. Or like another weird one is like strut cartridge inserts, like kind of the 944, that type of thing. It's a sleeve, and then the strut goes inside of it with some oil to try to like get it to sit in there with some suction and dissipate the heat better. But if the nut comes a little loose there, you get a very strange rattle that's
Right.
pretty hard to repeat.
kind of like inconsistent, like not very repeatable. Those are hard.
Right, and it's one of those
but-
things like you get on the brakes over bumps, and you can load that McPherson tube a little bit, and then if it doesn't do it when it's loaded versus
I
unloaded.
chased an issue for a real long time with the Speed 6. Like, since the day I bought it almost, there was like a weird vibration that like I'm just cruising on the highway and, 6th, and at a very specific RPM, there would be like a rhythmic vibration. You could see it in the rearview mirror. It would like,
Oh, yep.
and I was like, okay, what? So I replaced all the wheels. I've replaced all the tires. I bought a new drive shaft. I had it aligned, and I'm like, what could this be? Like the brakes, all this stuff, everything that was like, RPM related or speed related that like just rotated because I could always repeat it at a specific RPM.
So like an
And-
engine mount.
No, it was.
I remember you going through
I've
that on
never
the S4
fixed
though.
it.
Oh, you
It's
didn't
just-
figure it out?
No.
Okay, I thought you were. I was
I've been-
expecting some like sweet revelation here. It'd be like, oh, it was the
No,
freaking
it's
radio.
been-
I
it's
turned
been
it
like
off and
eight,
it's
no, it's been like 8 years. I've just
got it?
accepted it as like
Yeah.
literally as a chassis harmonic.
I kind of
thing.
did. I kind of did that with the B5. I chased down
do
driveline
remember
stuff,
that,
and I was
yeah.
just like, "There's so much slop between, like
I do
on and
remember you
off
doing that as
throttle."
well,
And I was
yeah.
like replacing drive shafts. I replaced a transmission at one point with
Oof.
a different,
Diff. I remember the
different
diff,
used
too.
one diff, axles. Just like I basically just chalked it up to I put some mounts in it, and now I feel all the slop versus the stock stuff, and you don't. And I just accepted it after too
Yeah.
much
I thought
money.
you
and too
changed
much
the
time.
mounts. I thought you changed the trans mounts, and it got way better.
No, I added a drivetrain like stabilizer that like
Oh.
holds onto the transmission better, and it helped a little bit. But I think honestly, it just
It didn't give you that.
Sometimes
like,
you can
warm,
cause
fuzzy
your-
feeling like that you fixed it though.
yeah.
So,
Sometimes you can cause your own problems, and just turning your street car into a race car just exposes things that
just
you
being
think
like-
are wrong because you're not used to it. But
I
Always
did that
average
hard.
rating
I did
on
that hard in the E36 when I put the lightweight flywheel in,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
and I had stock engine rubber mounts for the engine, and I put poly trans mounts in.
Oh, never do that. Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about the whole, your engine mounts need to be stiffer than your trans mounts. And above 2,500 RPM, that car had a death shake. Like, it felt like the engine was going to, like, the flywheel was out of balance I put in. I'm like, oh, man, I got to replace all
The
this.
bolts
And
are
then,
backing out. Oh
like,
my god!
this car is shaking. Like, it is bad. And then put stock trans mounts back in. Fine.
Yep.
I was, like, freaking out. I'm like, I have to put a new flywheel in and everything else. Like, oh, no.
If you just make
I'm
it
an idiot.
softer, you can't feel
Yeah,
anything.
make it softer. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was one I was
Driveline
like,
vibes, yeah.
I had Mike look at it. I'm like, Mike, 2,500 RPM. This thing the whole car shakes. What's up? And you're like, oh, no, figure it out.
I don't remember saying that, but
That,
I think
that's
I
That's
remember
usually your
the
default
thing you would
response.
say,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I think I remember yelling at you about the trans mount thing. Cause
Well, after I told you what I did, you're like, that's not good.
yeah, don't do that. We've had plenty of issues where like people, specifically BMWs, just put like our poly trans mounts in and like leave their stock rubber engine mounts. And then
Trans mounts suck in general.
Trans mounts suck in general, but like if you leave the stock rubber mounts, like people have broken the ears off transmissions. Like especially if it's a dead engine mount,
Mm-hmm.
the tabs are too close together. It's not meant to hold the twisting force. So,
So close together.
yeah, bad
solid-
news.
Solid mount everything.
That's a solution for some things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it causes other weird issues.
Yeah.
I've still got a weird pop that comes from the back end of my car. I feel like only when it's cold and only when I load the drivetrain, like clutch out, it'll pop.
Yep.
And then between gear shifts, when I load the drivetrain, it'll pop. But then when the car gets warm, it won't do it anymore. Tighten every bolt back there. I've checked the diff
When
fluid.
the car gets warm or when the drivetrain gets
Probably drivetrain gets warm. Like I'll get to work and then I'll leave work later and it's fine. But in the mornings, it'll just like when I first roll out in first gear, as
So
soon
you
as I
have
get the
Del-
drivetrain loaded,
You have Delrin bushings, though, don't you?
poly,
Are they poly?
diff, yeah,
Okay.
solid subframe.
Sometimes you just need the old Italian tune-up, you know?
Yeah.
You just gotta like go out there and clutch kick it a few times and just like make everything make everything settle down.
Come to
you
the
know?
drift event, huh?
Yeah. Seed everything.
You gonna come out when Charlie comes out?
Ooh,
When Charlie comes out.
Pit race.
Dude,
If-
we
I
said
think it's a pit
is
race
happening.
after Grid Life.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's pretty easy on tires. I'm like, if everyone else is going, I'll go.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd go,
If
yeah.
everyone goes, then that's a thing.
Yeah.
if he goes, it's gonna be kind of hard to not go.
Right,
So
I
I want to
was
see
saying,
that
it's
happen.
A big
But
parking lot, cones, no walls.
that's the place to do it. If
Yep.
I'm gonna do it, pit
Yeah.
race is the place to do
That
it.
is the place to do it. Scumbag.
Depends when I do. Depends when I decide to park the car.
Not before then.
Yeah,
No.
after that.
Yeah, after that.
It's
Don't-
not going to be
don't
that
tell 'em
cold
when it
out.
is.
Yeah, you'd be done. You're not going to be done driving it for the year yet.
You got to do it.
You're putting that thing away like end of November.
Think how much
Come on.
smoke you'll make.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Only off throttle though.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, that'll
Not
that'll, like,
tires.
it'll link the train between like tire smoke and then
Yeah, you'll,
The next
you'll make
corner.
smoke the
Usually
whole
there's gonna be
time.
tire smoke. It's just gonna be
Of course, it's
Smoke.
smoke all the time.
yeah, spin out, smoke, spin out, smoke.
You'll be fine.
you don't know that.
Yeah.
I kind
You
of
have
a
those
good
old
ride.
Rikens too,
I'd
right?
really- I
do,
You
yeah.
You literally have burners ready to
I
rip.
have-
Burners that have been sitting under my workbench for
Yeah.
2 years.
It's gonna happen.
I'd
Burn
really
'em up.
like
You're
to
coming.
try your car too.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'd also like to try your car.
You want to swap?
Ooh.
Take it
Bold
for a run?
offer, Yes.
I feel more comfortable beating your car
I
up
wanna
because I won't
swap-
care.
We should
Then
swap
me
every-
beating your car up?
You're a good
You
driver.
worried about it?
I'd be fine with it.
wanna
Either of you
swap
guys driving
everybody's
my
cars
car.
Yes,
that
yeah.
that would be a
weekend.
good. Well, not everybody, but
Yeah, not everybody.
Oh well.
Yeah.
You can try mine.
Okay. All right.
I trust you
36
guys
to
to drive my
36,
car.
no.
There's certain people I would not trust to drive my car.
Yeah.
So.
There's no wall.
Yeah, if you took my car, like, I'm going to rip your car. Like, fine. You know, I trust you.
If I
something
go out
break-
there and I show you that you can do like a really solid lap with your setup, then you're gonna be like,
I have
oh,
no-
I
well,
have
shit,
to do this
yeah.
now.
I have no doubt you'll do a solid lap in my car.
I
don't
that-
know.
I did that to my roommate in college. Like we went to an autocross. I might have even said this on the podcast before, but he had like a Mach 1 Mustang, like an SN95 chassis, and he was like, never, ever, ever let anybody drive his car or whatever. And then I was surprised. The big surprise to me, he let me drive it at this autocross, and like I smoked him by like a couple seconds, and I stopped then. I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm happy. And he spent the rest of the day trying to beat the time or whatever, and that made me pretty satisfied. But
I've done that. I've had that happen to me, and I've done it to people, and it's very fun and
it gives you like that
unbelievably
goal, like you're
frustrating.
like it's the same car, like
Right.
assist the driver. That's all it is, and that is pretty entertaining.
I've had it done to me at autocross, but also because when I first started autocrossing, it was just in the Formula SAE car. So I was used to a tiny little car ripping through the cones, and then I never actually autocrossed a full-size car. So the first time I went, I was just like not pushing the tires at all. And my buddy who was like, yeah, let me drive it. I'll show you what's up. And I rode with him. I'm like, holy crap. Like, I am
Right.
not pushing hard at all. And then once he showed me that and I rode with him, I'm like, game on.
Sometimes that
Like,
unlocks
know.
it. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I can do that. All right,
There's
well,
like
okay.
another like 40% more. You're like, wow.
yeah, I'm like, wow, those tires are really squealing. Wow, you are really just
Yeah.
like going for it. And I'm like,
Meanwhile,
okay, I get it.
The first time out, you hear like a little chirp, a little, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
Yeah, and the
you know,
tire chirp. I'm like, too hard, you know, I gotta keep it quiet, you know. And he's just like,
No.
just
Yep.
scrubbing tires, and
I
I'm
did the
like,
exact
okay.
same thing my first autocross.
yeah.
I just went for a ride with my buddy, not even in my car, just like went for a ride with him. Like, oh, I am not going nearly fast enough. Like,
Well, that's the other thing too. You're always scared of breaking your own shit, and then you know.
I've gotten over that.
Well, I'm sure you have, but anyways.
Yeah, once you put a time clock on it, there's no, I don't care.
Yeah.
Normally, I won't sit in second gear, like driving around corners to try to go fast or something. But if I'm in an autocross course, like,
hey, if you ain't first, you're last.
be like,
Let's
I'm limiter. I'm
fucking
like,
go.
yeah, you know, that's what
That
it
is
is.
true.
You know, it's happening.
I'm afraid of the U36, but when they say go, I'm off the rev limiter, like pin sliding everywhere, like
No longer thinking about it. Yeah.
lifters are ticking like crazy. I'm like, let's go again. Like, I figure it out later.
It's weird, given this is going to come full circle in a second here, because we didn't even talk about like probably my biggest diagnostic issue in my life.
I know what it is now.
Yep.
To the Honda.
No, Honda.
I don't know.
No.
Usually when you like,
It's behind
Probably
it.
like one of the
Oh.
4 LSs that I built.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Built, quote unquote. But no, I was going to say, but to that point, you know, I can't think of a single time while drifting my car that I ever looked at like a gauge or anything. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm having like a solid run. I don't care what my oil pressure is. I don't care about anything.
Yeah, it's hard to look at stuff.
Yeah.
There's just
I
too
mean,
much
not
going on.
even if you could, like, I've not cared to
No,
even
thank
bother
you.
trying to look.
Sometimes if there's a passenger, I'd be like, hey, can you look at like this gauge and see what
To
it's
see
doing?
what it's doing the whole time. I think, you know, since we've posted videos and recorded some of them, I have looked back at, you know, my gauges while watching the video from the in-car stuff, just out of curiosity, and, you know, saw just funny things, you know, nothing alarming, but just funny stuff. But
Last time out, like I ran something over and like the car sounded funny, and it sounded kind of like bottom endy noise.
yeah.
Didn't lift at all. I was like, I'll figure it out when I'm back in the pits. But
Hey, if it's gone, it's gone, right? I
Right,
mean, so I guess the difference between like a window and not, but at the price
Right.
of those blocks, like
Yeah, it
you're,
doesn't matter.
you're never fixing it. So,
but you know,
but yeah,
heat of the moment, whatever. Kaboom.
So, yeah, in terms of diagnostics, I know Mike was around a couple times when trying to figure this out, but
That was around the first time it died.
So was I.
oh, you're right, that was at an
and the
autocross.
autocross guy was like, well, if it's, you know, got flakes in it, it's done anyway, just drive it.
Dude, oh god. Okay, so it's gonna be kind of hard to summarize this. Anyways, built the LS Miata. That was probably, I don't know, just maybe like third or fourth. We went to a handful that year of autocrosses. So
Is that
about,
the same year you blew through cones? And
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, before Shane.
yeah,
worked
before
at
I knew you
ECS,
guys,
before
Will
he-
tried to kill me.
I did. I locked up the brakes real hard in a turn and just like slid straight through a corner. And Shane was like working that corner, and he might have had his light flash before his eyes.
Yeah, just a Miata like ripping right at me. Came in too hot, hit the brakes, and just slid right at me. I'm like, oh crap! And then, you know, like a couple year later, like, oh hey, I work with you now.
Yeah, it's Shane. Yeah. So, anyways, it was like I don't know, maybe third or fourth autocross that I did with that car, and yeah, just, you know, it was a stock oiling system, stock.
Yeah, you never opened it.
Nope,
Right?
never opened. And yeah, just Starf oil, presumably, in one of the turns, and just rod knocked real hard, and so, you know, coasted it back to the pits, and, you know, did like some form of diagnostics while there, just to make sure it wasn't like a broken lifter, a bent push rod, something stupid.
Yep.
And actually, I remember looking at it, the oil looked fine.
It did.
Like,
Well, on the
the t-
dipstick,
on
it
the-
looked fine because you can't get.
And in the heads, everything,
Yeah.
you couldn't see anything alarming. So I was like, huh, that's weird. Hopefully it's just something stupid, you know,
Yeah.
or like, you know, aerated oil and a collapsed lifter or something stupid. But I was, of course, nervous about it. And I remember saying, like, yeah, well, you know, they're kicking everybody out for the day. You got to get out of here. And I was like nervous about like even moving the car at that point. We were like, I was trying to get it towed, and the guy working the event was like, "Well, it doesn't matter now. If there's flakes in the oil, like it's already done. Just drive it." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't. You know, I can't." So, anyways, you know, got it ripped apart, and I think I still have the bearing, but very badly spun.
I have the crank and rods. So.
Yeah, you do. That's right. Yeah. Number 8.
7 and 8.
7 and 8 were both really bad, and like 5 and 6 even kind of didn't look great. So that was an indicator, because, you know, the oil passages in an LS come in from the rear. It goes like runs down the block from the pump, and then the first rods to get oil are like 8 and then 7, 6, 5, and 4. So I'm thinking if it's starved, that makes sense, sort of. I don't know. So it's like one of those weird diagnostic issues where you're like, okay, I think I understand the problem.
Well, that's hard to diagnose. Like it's like a.
Chicken or the egg.
Well, yeah, that's not diagnostic at that point. You're like doing
Well, you
crime
just gotta
scene analysis. Like it's
Yeah, but
forensic
not,
analysis
but
on a failure.
You know
so-
how to fix it, but you don't want it to happen again. So
Right.
what do you do about it?
Exactly.
So,
But
you know,
you're only be able to check it once it's failed. Like you can't check it in an operating state and be like, all right, so what is it making a noise here or here? Because
right,
like
right. And that's not even what I was really referring to in the terms of like diagnostics. It was after it had been put together once after that. Oh, is this a phone here?
Get your phone out of here.
See, it's your turn.
It's definitely Kevin's.
It's not always mine.
It is yours.
Every time you put
You
your
had
phone
it
next
on
to
the
thing.
wire. It was physically on your microphone wire. I don't want
Did
to
you
hear
just
it.
get a text? Because I didn't.
Nope.
I think you did.
Your phone is updated
Prove
or
it.
something.
Prove it.
All right, motor 2. This is motor 2
So-
or 3?
Well, both. Anyways, I was like, I don't know why. I was like, I found, that's right. I found a whole nother bottom end for sale on the forums, whatever. And I'm like, in the interest of, I don't know, I guess getting the car back together sooner and not having to deal with a machine shop, I just went and bought that. Mike ended up buying the blown up one. He says, yeah, I'll fix it, whatever. Take your time kind of deal. And so I had a replacement bottom end. And I'm like, well, I'll just have it checked by a machine shop while I'm at it. And boy, what a mistake. And so, they quoted me like, they looked at it and they're like, well, it looks pretty good. You could use, like a re-ring. And I'm like, all right, what's the quote for that? Just to have them do it. And they told me $800 to do it all with parts included. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Disassembled, reassembled parts and all, $800 sounds pretty good. Go to pick it up. Scumbags, said it's, $1,500.
Do that?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Shane's too loud.
That changes loud into here. It's too late. So
Oh, okay. Well, Shane's too loud.
You just realize that now? Or-
Anyways.
Bad machine shop, too expensive.
Yeah.
Well,
and so
yeah.
I bitched up a storm.
Both
Work
Will
was
and I
already done.
have been boned at that place.
Yeah, dude, place fucking sucks. R&R machine, I don't really care anymore. Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
You can blow
Yeah.
goats. So, I bitched up a storm when I got there, but, the work had already been done. So, I was like, this is what you told me on the phone. Of course, never had anything in writing, whatever. They, knocked like $100 off or something like that and didn't really know what to do at that point. So, but, I was like, well, if it's done, it's done and it's built, great. I don't have to worry about it ever again. Not the case, break in a new engine, change the oil, and like, 20 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, every time they came out the sparkly mess. And I was like, this doesn't seem right anymore. Like, first oil change I can see. Second oil change, you would expect it to be a little bit less, pretty close to gone. The 100-mile oil change, the third oil change, you would think pretty darn good, but it was never good. Big flakes in the filter because I cut apart the filters and checked the pleats and everything. Something wrong. I don't know. So I took it back to them, and I was like, dude, what's the deal? I just paid you this much money. You told me $800 off the bat. I paid you almost twice as much as what you quoted me the first time around, and it's junk. Like, this is bullshit. So, they're like, well, I don't know. It looks like, you put it together dirty or something like that. There's a bunch of junk in the block. I'm like, you guys assembled it. Like, what do you mean? I put a pan on, I put the heads on, filled it with oil. And they're like, yeah, no, this looks like there's a bunch of trash went around that motor. And I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. And so, they played both ends of the argument. Like, yeah, you have to clean it all out and everything. And I'm like, well, if you pay somebody to put together an engine, that's kind of the point though, right? Like, I'm not going to take all the, rod bearings out and blow out the, crank and everything. Like, when you just did machine work and put it together for me, that's what I paid for. So, long story short, never got anywhere with them. I put it together again myself after that. Just replaced the bearings, cleaned it out real good, because honestly, after having Mike look at it, Kevin looked at it, like, really no smoking gun.
It did look like debris went through there. Like, it didn't look like clearances were too tight and it had killed a bearing. It was
I would agree
definitely
with that, but, again.
shit went through there. Right, but, I mean, and once it's blown through, you're not going to find it. You can't figure out if they left it in somewhere
like
or
I said,
what.
the chicken or the egg scenario. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just clean it really good. I'll replace the bearings, put it back together. It should be fine. And knock on wood, it has been. I did take it out once again after that, just because I got like really gun shy, about it. I saw like oil pressure start to drop as like things wore in, I guess. I don't know. It ended up being nothing that time. Since I had it apart, I did take it to like another machine shop and say, hey, this is what happened. I even like name dropped the other machine shop. Was that, hey, I went here, had all these problems. They're like, oh boy, yeah, we've seen a lot of those, kind of thing. But they did check everything over. Clearances and everything like that were good in their opinion as well. So having a second opinion made me feel better about that. And the diagnosis being, just some trash went around the engine. So ever since then, again, I've been like a little scared.
Yeah, because there wasn't anything like, oh yes, that was the problem.
100%,
like,
that was a
boom.
problem. Yeah, no idea.
It's just like something. What happened the first time? Like what was the cause?
Well, the first one was
the first
oil
time,
starvation.
Oil starvation.
Because of what? The pan
Yeah,
baffling.
the pan baffling.
Right.
As
Okay.
well as
So
slosh.
all right.
Yeah.
that
Add an
points to
autocross inner corner is when
on
you
a stock oil pan, which in
It is known
retrospect
for that,
is
yeah.
a known issue.
Okay.
You should run it a quart over.
Is that F-body pan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good to know.
I've
Should
since added a lot of
autocross
things.
it this weekend again.
Nope.
I'm glad you guys are figuring this all out. So when I want to LS swap something, I'll be like, just tell me
Dude,
everything.
it's cake.
Give me the
It is-
blueprint
it
for
is
what I
so
need to do.
easy.
Although taking them apart, they're not the easy motor that the internet makes them out to be. There's a lot of fairly tight clearances and tricky business putting them together.
It's insane. Yeah, I remember
you need to know some stuff. You
Yeah.
can't just. I mean, you can always just take a junkyard block and not touch anything. And go for it. Right.
Because I've done that before, and then this time I assembled this one, and I've assembled a couple motors, and this was more difficult than like the big block I slammed together for no reason in the Suburban.
Yeah.
Like, that was everything was fine. Like that was effortless.
Mm-hmm.
Although, granted, clearances are enormous, so like you can't mess it up.
Right. Yeah, the
But-
clearances are pretty tight on LS stuff.
Yeah.
But, with either nice tools or a competent shop, just to have things checked over and not even necessarily build it for you, it's pretty straightforward.
I'm just dwelling on my R&R failures now.
Yeah, right. Well, go ahead, lay them out there.
So, when I moved here, I brought my Unimog, which had like barely like it was a running
Oh God, I completely
chassis.
forgot about this.
Yeah,
This was like very shortly after you.
I
moved
was here 3 days. So I've moved to Ohio. My Unimog was a project that I'd been working on in Connecticut. It ran and drove, but I didn't have a bed done. There was a bunch of stuff unfinished, but I could cruise around in it. And then Will hit me up, I just started working. He's like, hey, you want to hang out this weekend or something like that? I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll stop by in that. It sounds fun. It was a nice day out. And then I don't know where I'm going, so I'm following my phone. I forgot to turn on no highways. Unimogs don't like highways, so I hop onto the highway like a real idiot, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I had 300 miles on the thing at this point, so I'm like, well, I'll see how fast it goes. This will be a great experience now, at least until the next exit. So I get up there, I'm doing 60, 65. I'm like, wow, this isn't that bad. I was expecting way worse. This thing's wound out to. Granted, the motor, it was a 3-liter, 5-cylinder turbo diesel out of a 300D, so it's the OM617. The motor that was in it, I got through my friend Dennis, who I used to work for, in exchange for fixing another car, but it had 380,000 miles on it. And the turbo was leaking a little bit of oil, and I knew that, just out the compressor side.
Yeah.
I was like, I had the rebuild kit, I just hadn't gotten to it yet. I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll do that when I get to it. Get on the highway. I'm on the highway for a mile, and then it loses power, knocks pretty bad, ton of smoke behind me, and it dies. So it still ended up running once it cooled off, but
Yeah.
as it turns out, I melted cylinder 1 and 2 because it was overfueling from the oil from the turbo. So I pulled it apart. I figured out what was wrong. Picked up a junkyard motor. I got Zach's utility trailer behind the E30, drove 2 hours, got this motor for $500. Brought it home, painted it all nice, put it in, dead cylinder. Because it was it had a rusty bore on one and a pitted valve seat or something like that. So I was running it without an intake manifold because it's a diesel, and it was coughing back at me through one of them. I was like, son of a bitch. So I tore that one down, stole 2 pistons, put the other ones in it from the blown up one, and then returned it. So, because they already screwed me on that one, and they we weren't super willing. But we'll take it back. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
you're getting it back.
Yep.
So, gave him the pieces back after a little argument. Because what the heck, you took it apart? I'm like, yeah, it's broken. I had to figure out it was broken.
Yeah, right. I didn't know who to point the finger at. Was it me or was it you? It was definitely you.
Right. So those blocks have sleeves, dry sleeves that are pressed in. I took my old block that I originally blew up, welded in little things in the sleeves, pressed them out in my press, ordered new sleeves through work, and then like dropped it off in R&R. I'm like, here are my pistons. Here are the new sleeves. I just want you to put them in and get them to size. Like, I'm putting everything together.
Simple
I
stuff.
don't want you to do
Like,
anything. It's like, oh yeah, like $600. All right, cool, that's fine. He calls me. He's like, all right, we had to like actually machine the block to get the sleeves in there. Come in a little oversized. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm expecting a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I show up, it's like $1,600, something like that. I'm like, what the heck? You just pressed in sleeves for me.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Well, we had to build a fixture plate, jack
Right.
to block, and then,
And they didn't even like number the pistons. These are
Yeah.
well-used pistons. You'd
Yeah.
think they're all different sizes, and you should figure out the clearances. Nope, nothing. Nothing's numbered. Nothing's figured out.
Yeah.
Like, didn't gap any rings. Didn't do anything. Like, what the heck? So I put it together, and I now have 4,000 miles on the Unimog.
4,000.
4,000.
I think you're like tripling every mileage number that you've ever come up with. We had this discussion on the way back
It
from the
says
Tail of
it
the
on
Dragon.
the thing.
No, see, this is what I'm not buying. He can not drive that freaking truck all winter and somehow put like 20,000 miles
I
on it
have.
a year.
I can show you the title from when I got it from Rocky.
You have like 6 cars and somehow you put like 15 to 20,000 miles on everything.
No,
and I just don't understand.
That's not true. It's just a couple of them. But
You drive the truck all winter, usually.
no, the truck doesn't move in the winter.
Yeah.
You did when we go up to the
You
bike
drove
park.
the Audi and the
No,
Porsche
not if it.
last year.
Oh, you take the Porsche.
Yeah,
What are you going to do this year?
exactly.
We talked. That was another discussion we had on the
no.
way back from Tail of the Dragon. It's,
Cronenberg time.
winter beater.
Yeah.
Oh,
The 7th
wow.
car to your...
Boy, that would have been the time
Driveway.
to pick one up
Yeah.
when we were just down at North Carolina. Man, I did
Oh.
see a couple.
did browse
saw
while we
Grandma
were down
Queen.
there.
Yeah,
I browsed for stuff while we were down there.
I
Not that
didn't
we
s-
could have brought anything back.
I didn't
but-
see anything remarkable.
I'm more shocked. I want to go back to... You said your Unimog was doing 60 to 70. And the time...
60, 65.
Every time I've ridden in it, the max I think it's ever gone is 40.
No, we've
60,
done
it
like
just doesn't
50,
do it.
55. Like
It's hard to tell in the bed when you're riding.
Yes, inside it you can tell.
Just gets hot when there's that
Gets
much
hot and loud.
stuff.
There's a frequency right around like 50, 55 where the floor starts to vibrate
It doesn't
funny.
feel good. at
No.
all.
Yeah, you've been in it. We went to Mid-Ohio, and it's no long-distance cruiser. It's,
Manually navigating to stay away from anything that's 55 miles an hour and over.
Yeah. Yep, just trying to like figure out back roads. But it'll do it. But now I am especially gun shy because I blew it up once and it was $1 million to fix it. So,
Right?
See, that was before I was there,
Yeah.
so I didn't know that story.
Yeah. Well, it was, like I said, was here 3 days when I broke it.
Boy, if I could just never deal with a machine shop. It's like one of those things. Like my car, like pretty much none of my cars have ever been to a shop except for before I worked at ECS when I didn't have access to an alignment rack. That was one of the very few reasons my car would ever go to a shop. And even like wheels and tires, I would just bring the wheels and tires so they didn't
Yep,
have to
I
wreck
used to
my
do that
lower
too.
car. Other than that, nobody has ever touched my car. And like machine shops, like one of those things. Like people don't have these tools. Like you can't. You're just
And they're specialized tools. Like you can't do it. I mean, you can, but like on a Bridgeport or something, it takes forever to indicate everything in.
Yeah.
But like an actual fixture for boring and honing stuff for a machine shop is very simple.
And I know it sucks. So like, and then there's situations like this that both of us have been in that were like, this is why I
Right.
don't. I wish I didn't have to do this.
Right.
But
The only thing
Sucks.
at this point I will pay for is the glass guy to put a windshield in,
yeah,
and that's only because like it's
Yep.
not much more money than the glass.
right.
And honestly, if my windshield leaks, that I had the guy do on drift car.
Well, that. Oh, does it?
Yeah.
It
So-
leaks?
Either it's hard to tell, but I'm 90% sure it's the windshield that leaks. So
Something leaks. Huh?
I
It's
didn't-
probably
yeah.
not his RTV sunroof delete.
no, I know that leaks, but separately. That's a different location.
The
of
water
leak.
comes from a different spot.
Yeah.
Even with the nice sealing rivets.
I know. Sealed
Wow.
rivets and RTV.
Damn.
I tried.
I use not sealing rivets and mine doesn't leak.
Dick.
Son of a bitch.
That's what I get for trying. Because I
Right.
used the aircraft rivets on my E30 the first time, but they were hard to like buck near some of the tubes. So like that, I didn't really think it out around the cage. I drilled them where they were, symmetrical and nice and even.
Of course.
So, yeah, I put those in and like used the air hammer and tried to buck them all in, and that I was like, oh, those won't leak. No, that thing leaked like crazy. So I ended up like doing a little sealant on the outside, and then it was fine.
Yeah.
But not my favorite
But then
solution.
It doesn't look the best.
No, it
so
looks
of course,
awful.
Yeah.
So Thought I could skirt it this time. No such luck.
Keep trying. You
We'll
got
get
another.
there.
You got another go here shortly.
Yeah, I've
so-
got one more to do.
Yeah.
I haven't played
And
it.
another machine shop run for that thing, too. I'm going to figure that out.
For the 5-cylinder?
Yeah.
You're gonna take it to the shop?
Well, oversized pistons.
Why you? What? I thought that was gonna be a stock motor. No.
No, pistons rods.
Oh.
Why not just stock size so you don't have to do that?
Because I bet they're not.
They're usually
Yeah,
more
it's-
expensive, and they just don't work because they're gonna be ovaled anyways.
Yeah.
Ball hone it. Call it a day.
Just ball hone it
That
forever.
doesn't help.
Forever. Half a millimeter of ball hone.
Half a
Woof.
millimeter, man, boy. Real life, it's not that much, but in machine world, that's a lot.
In ball hone, that's forever.
It's so aggressive.
It's like 10,000, isn't it?
Dude, that'll ruin a block. You oversize half a millimeter for a piston or something like that.
Mhm.
Oh,
Done.
yeah. That's over.
Yeah. It's so small though.
So small.
12,000. 12 and a half.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not.
Because machines don't work in millimeters.
They do, just
still
not
don't.
here.
They still don't here. Yeah, I've never touched
they,
one
They
that
do
does.
it in the rest of the world, but here they don't.
Right. Just convert poorly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I haven't had the. I'm sure I will at some point, but I guess I just haven't ventured into modifying stuff enough to deal with the machine shop issues.
Trust me, I'm still shy about it, and I'd rather not if I could avoid it. You know,
Yeah.
the whole junkyard LS thing sounds very appealing at this point. and,
Kind of
know,
makes you
just-
not really like bat an eye at people spending a whole bunch of money on crate engines and stuff. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
Bring it
right.
on.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
about that. I mean, it's like, okay, then you know that
Right.
the consumer never touched it.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's just if it had a problem, then well,
Yep.
I didn't put it together.
yeah,
Yep.
Didn't put the heads on.
it's
Not as
not cheap, but
yeah.
like, it comes down to a certain point where like, if you want that reliability, you just, it
of course
could
from
be
like a
worth it.
reputable company, but yeah,
Yeah. At least you have a
Yeah, it's-
warranty as long as that
right.
holds water. But I don't know.
That was part of my logic with paying R&R. I was like, well, they'll put it together, and if something goes wrong, I'll have recourse.
Nope.
No recourse.
Mm.
Nope. Yep.
Mhm.
Not a real thing.
It's more likely that I will buy like going out of business machine shops equipment than I will go back to more machine shops. Like,
Yeah, I'm not into it. I'm very, very shy about that.
Yeah.
So,
I specifically bought like stock size pistons after measuring the bores forever on my LS block, just because of that.
yeah.
Like I spent forever with. Luckily, we had just gotten those nice bore gauges at work,
Oh,
so I was
yeah.
able to kind of figure that out. I'm like, okay, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I even triple checked my block, after taking it to R&R. They said, yeah, I don't know, everything's good. And then took it to the other machine shop, and they said, yeah, I don't know, everything's good. And I'm like, okay, let me triple check here. And so I took it to work, and I used both the bore gauges and the ferro arm and probed the like bearing surfaces and everything to make sure that everything was round.
And then you put an AccuSump on.
And I put an AccuSump on it, a new oil pan, and a trapdoor baffle. So hopefully it's good. Oh, and like multiple oil pressure sensors. So, anything diagnostic related left?
If it weren't
What
for
do we
that,
got?
you probably wouldn't be playing with Arduinos and stuff. Making
That is
fancy
true.
gauges.
That was
and
like a
kinda opened a door.
We brought that up in kind of the beginning of this episode, like learning some of that stuff without like a project in front of you, and I was like, hey, I've always hated the looks of round gauges for some reason. I'm just not into it. Not into like pillar gauges
Yeah.
or just any of that. And so I was like, well, I had just bought like a Arduino like little starter learner kit, and I was like, oh, I could bet you I could make an oil pressure gauge. And so I don't know, with a task in front of me, I was able to figure it out. And I don't know, fun little project, but I guess that's not really a topic worthy of a podcast episode. But
Yeah, you can just talk the whole time.
I don't want
Yeah.
to. I don't know anything. I
All
just,
right.
like I said, you just.
Hey, made it work. So that's more than I can do
Yeah.
at this point. I never even touched them. So
Yeah, I have an Arduino,
It
but
is
like
fun. You buy one of the things. Well, what intrigued me was that there's like a $30-$40 starter kit you can buy. It comes with like all different types of like little electronics, like different types of sensors, screens, LEDs, all that other stuff, all the jumper wires, resistors. And then there's this tutorials you take, and you're like, here, make this work, and it tells you some like basic commands, and you just like figure out how to script it, and it's
Okay. That's
I mean,
nice.
yeah, that's a stupid little thing you can sit like, especially during the
$40
winter time.
is probably worth
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
winter
I
time.
thought it
like,
was way
on
more expensive
no,
than that.
It comes with a breadboard, all that stuff. So you like,
Okay.
prototype it, and you just figure it out. It tells you basic commands, and you just the end goal is to finish that like lesson, and I enjoyed it
So you
a
don't have
lot.
to dive full bore into like figuring out how to make an oil pressure sensor work when the car is on.
No,
and,
I
like,
literally
idling or-
reused like one of the examples that I thought was close to like what I wanted to do, and then just added some other things that I had learned and a couple more lines and a couple,
Okay.
I combined basically a bunch of lessons. I don't know what the hell I'm
That's
doing.
that's
I was just-
the whole
but yeah,
point, right?
But
They give you
eventually,
lessons so you can build upon it.
exactly,
Right? So,
exactly. So, excellent winter project.
Okay.
For sitting on the couch and not really
Okay.
doing much. So
Yeah.
that's
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
significantly cheaper than I thought it was. So
Yeah.
that sounds worthwhile.
You're more than welcome to buy mine too. It's actually up there. See, Arduino. It's labeled in the black bin.
Mine's still on my desk at work from when I brought it in to do that.
I just brought
math
that back
scaling.
home because I didn't know if you were done with that math scaling thing.
Oh yeah.
That was also a fun little thing.
That was
And
entertaining, yeah.
like proof of concept. You're like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So also, I mean, we didn't really talk about it. Last episode was about sensors and testing and things like that. And did we talk? We talked about that math scaling as an example, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll talk about
using
using
the
Arduino too.
yeah. Very handy little tool for it, especially because they have 5-volt reference, which is kind of hard to come by in terms of like testing
I mean,
car
something
sensors
like
and
that
things
could
like
probably run strain gauges, right? That's what we
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about
Sure,
doing that.
absolutely.
So like,
it 100%
so that's
is a strain gauge,
Yeah,
pretty
good.
much if you wire it up right. But
You used that when we were trying to pull test the.
I think I mentioned that
Yeah,
too.
Carbon?
You must
Yep.
not have
Yep.
listened to
Yep.
the episode.
yeah, you
Shin.
didn't.
I haven't listened to
Yeah.
any episodes.
I talked about rigging
Except the
that up
first
to the
two.
alignment rack and like bending the tab off
Rude.
the floor or
Yeah.
whatever.
That's it for you.
But-
You're
Well, I
done.
hate my
Yeah.
sound of my voice, so I won't listen to anything I'm on.
That's okay. There's like 18 more that you.
But I talk to you guys every day, so
Yeah,
I know a lot of the things.
Fine.
fine.
Still love you, Kevin.
On that note, does anybody else have any more diagnostic comments?
I don't know.
Concerns,
I've been
questions,
through a
advice?
million things that are strange, but it's kind of just like
If you had
Isolate
one piece
variables.
of advice.
isolate variables. Don't change everything at once. Try to figure out what's going on and find the real problem.
And to reiterate, you said this to me before we even started the episode. We said this in an earlier episode as well, but most likely the last thing that you touched
Oh yes,
is
Yep.
the problem.
right. Whatever you last did is more than likely the problem.
We don't care if you just put like a brand new pump in it, a brand new solenoid sensor, whatever.
Well, in
It could
Shane's
be
case,
bad.
it wasn't. Well, no, he did put the transmission mounts in. You did
Yeah.
the transmission mounts at the same time as the flywheel?
Yes,
Ugh.
I did
Yeah,
everything
see?
at the same
So it
time.
was
Bad
both.
variables. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took the whole back
It, was
end
all,
out.
it wasn't what you touched, but it also was. what you
Everything
touched.
was
Right.
stock mounts, and then I put it all back with
It is
solid
hard.
mounts. And
It is hard to try and resist changing multiple things at once. Multiple variables, harder to isolate.
Yeah,
And
don't change.
There's a time and a place.
There's
of course,
any time
but
you're going to do testing, don't change more than one
Yeah.
variable at a time. Or if you do, know that
right.
you could
Understand
be
what they
opening
affect.
more
Yeah.
cans of worms there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when you have like an oil pan off or you have a transmission off, like of course it's
Yeah,
you don't want
yeah.
to do it twice. So
There's certain jobs that it absolutely makes sense to do multiple things at, but just understand.
remember
what
that
you're
you did
doing.
them and like
Right.
consider that. Yeah. So I think that's all.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah,
Shane?
follow us on Spotify, CAD cars, blah, blah, blah.
Make sure you eat your vegetables.
Yep, be healthy, greens.
Find us on eBay,
Your
Amazon,
veggies, do your
iTunes,
push-ups.
Facebook
Yep.
Marketplace.
Facebook.
Thanks for watching,
Do it for Dale.
Yeah.
and bye.